hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Club Life podcast. I'm Darren Flynn, the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer at Clubs New South Wales. Now, the Club Life podcast is where we'll tackle all the burning issues and speak with unique personalities and experts in their field. You can find us on clublife.com.au, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Today, I'm excited to introduce our very first guest, Sallianne Faulkner. In July, Sallianne became the first female to be elected chair in the 104-year history of the Registered Clubs Association of New South Wales. She first joined the board back in May of 2018. Now, Sallianne has also been on the board of Ramsgate RSL since 2012 and its president since 2014. But away from clubs, there's plenty more to unpack in the life of Sallianne Faulkner. So let's get into it and introduce the chair of Clubs New South Wales. Sallianne, welcome.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks for having me.
Well, firstly, congratulations on your appointment as chair of Clubs New South Wales, the first female chair, a huge honour.
Yeah, thank you. It is a huge honour and I'm really excited about taking the role. You know, we've got a group of highly professional board directors in our association and I'm really looking forward to the future.
Would you say leadership's something that comes naturally to you?
I guess no one thinks that leadership is a completely natural skill, I guess, but I certainly love people and I love being able to form a vision or a view to the future, and certainly I love taking people on that journey and getting them to work together to create something special.
Some people would ask, why are you doing this? Why would you take on the role at such a pivotal point in the history of the Registered Clubs Association in New South Wales? You've got over 1,000 members, all with very strong opinions on what the right way forward is. You've got an uncertain, some would say volatile regulatory environment. Why now? Why is this the right move for you?
I mean, I agree with all those statements, of course. You know, we know that we're in a challenging situation, but for me, this is a great industry. It's a great industry of people, and I've often said it's an industry for the people, by the people. And I think that's something that, you know, we all are really invested in. So I'm really proud of the work that we do, and particularly proud of the work we do in community. It's so important for us at Clubs New South Wales as the peak industry body to have a united voice, and that's the thing that I'm really invested in.
Let's talk about your time as Interim CEO, because you're in the unique position of serving as Interim CEO before serving as chair. It was a very difficult time for the industry, clearly a lot of political headwinds at the time and a lot of media noise around our industry. A lot of people would have run a million miles from the role at that point in time. You didn't. Why was it the right role for you? And tell us a bit about that 6-month tenure.
I mean, you're right, very challenging time in the lead up to the state election, but I really believed as a director that we needed our leadership and a collaborative approach more than anything at that time. We had an industry body that was working so hard to keep stability for our 75,000 employees, our plus 6 million members, and of course our club members themselves. So it was a really important time to step up, and I'm really pleased that I did that. It was an interesting time. It was very challenging for me professionally, of course, but none of us should step away from that when it's really important, and it was.
Tell us about what you took away from that experience. What did you learn from those 6 months?
So we were very deliberate in trying to understand not only our government stakeholders and where they were at and what they were looking to achieve. I mean, we talked endlessly about engaging with both sides of politics and really listening. But even more than that, you know, I doubled down, I guess, on listening to our members and really understanding their takeaways from the challenging time we were at. And also our industry association has employees of our own, and it was important to be able to give our employees the security and the sense of stability too.
Let's talk about your background away from clubs. You were born in Cogra, which I hope would have made you a St George Dragons fan,
No
but sadly not. Tell us about how you came to be a Shark supporter all those years ago.
Yeah, so born in Cogra at St George Hospital, mum and dad both out of the St George area, but I grew up in Miranda, so heartland of the Cronulla Sharks. All I have to say is 2016. It's the one and only year that I have to hold on to. So yeah, look, I grew up just like everybody else, you know, public school, primary school, high school, and I guess got to a point where I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had thought I would be a school teacher, but that didn't eventuate across the time, and yeah, the rest unfolds.
Well, let's talk about what came next. So the first job out of school, it's a fascinating job title, a packaging technologist at Arnott's. Firstly, what does a packaging technologist do? And we'll talk about your favourite biscuit in a moment, but firstly to the job title.
Let me go straight to that. It's got to be the Tim Tam, right?
Of course.
Yeah, so packaging technology, it was a career I fell into, and it was almost at the start of what I'd probably call industrial design, is what they call it now. And it really was sort of wrapped up in, and that's no pun intended, sort of looking at quality control of packaging materials, making sure that the things that we were putting around our food products were the most appropriate materials, etc., and that design sort of works. So it was fascinating. There was no course or schooling to do in Australia, so I did it all by correspondence while I was working at Arnott. It's an amazing company.
And that led into more of a marketing focus in your career, firstly off at the St George Bank, where you had a bit to do with the Happy Dragon. Tell us a bit about your time at St George.
Yeah, well, actually, I might just go back one step. I moved into a Reckitt and Coleman business around aerosols, so in packaging, and I had a few I think it was a bit of a way out sort of approach. And one day the marketing director said to me, "I've got a job for you. You have to come here," which was fantastic, and that kicked off my career in marketing. And that is really about people as well, and understanding behaviours and that sort of thing. So that was great. So next step was St George Building Society at the time. So back to almost where I was born. And during my time, we became St George Bank, and of course, the rest is history. But I had a role at one stage around the promotions and looking after Happy Dragon. So that was a challenging time of keeping some young people in line around reputation and what we did in the community. But again, awareness of, all of the good things that can be done when you engage with your community.
We're going to fast forward in a minute to the club industry, but I'm going to ask you first about your side hustle at the moment, because not a lot of people would know until it recently appeared in the ClubLIFE magazine, but you have a hazelnut business on the side. Tell us how that came about and how you make it work with all the other things that you're doing in life.
Yeah, well, we sort of, like most things, you fall into them. Ben, my husband, and I found a property in the Central Tablelands in New South Wales, and we fell in love with it and sort of went, after a few years of, really enjoying being out there, tried to figure out what we could do to engage with it. Animals, not so much, livestock, not particularly the right thing to do, I guess. But hazelnuts came into our view, and we ended up planting. We've got about 1,500 hazelnuts. The plan will be for a fair size yield, but it does take some time for those trees to come on. So we're in the process of that now, and it fits in.
Is the hazelnut industry particularly big in New South Wales?
So Australia imports about 90% of the hazelnuts that we consume. So for me, there's opportunity. For Ben, there's lots of hard work.
Very good. Well, we look forward to seeing those hitting the shelves at some stage in the very near future. I'm going to ask you a question that we're going to ask a lot of in fact, all of our guests on the ClubLIFE podcast moving forward. What's something interesting about your life that perhaps other people within the club industry aren't aware of?
I don't know that anything I do is particularly interesting, but I don't think that most people would know I'm a bit of an animal lover. We have 3 cats, 2 dogs, 8 chooks. We've got 3 rescue horses. So, yeah, I guess that might be interesting.
And an alpaca as well?
And an alpaca, yes, an alpaca, yeah.
Did you inherit the alpaca on the farm? Or?
No. The alpaca is obviously on the farm, yes.
But we've got 3 cats, 2 dogs and the chickens.
Yes, that's right.
And how do the chickens go with the neighbours? They don't cause too much trouble?
No, as long as you don't have a rooster, everything's happy.
There you go, Sallianne Faulkner, animal lover. Moving on, let's talk about your career path or your path into the club industry, because, as I mentioned, you've been part of the furniture at Ramsgate since 2012. What led you into the club industry in the first instance?
I've got 4 children. When they were born, we were looking for, Ben and I have always considered that team sport is really, a really valuable development activity for children. Not only just gross motor skills, but those fine ones as well. So we gravitated towards the club, particularly the RSL in our life, given that we'd, sort of been down at the club for Anzac Day, really important commemoration time. And Ramsgate offered netball, it offered soccer, it offers AFL and a number of other sports through the club grants. Wasn't that at that time, but through that, junior sport offering. And it was designed right from the get-go to be able to facilitate improving, letting, all children of right across the community access participation. And so that's what we did. My 3 daughters and I played netball for Ramsgate RSL Netball Club. My son played for the AFL Club. And I think Ben at one time or another might play golf as well. But yeah, we were right involved in that, the sporting clubs.
And then we're going to talk about your role at Netball New South Wales in a moment, but that introduction to the club through junior sport opened up a potential opportunity there to join the board. How did that come about?
Like all these stories, someone said to me one day, you should just join the board. And I really do believe if you've got something to add, you should have a go. You should really try and make the place a better place than, when you found it. So I sort of ummed and ahed for a couple of weeks, and obviously the nomination time, completely unaware of what the process was and everything. I went to, I think it was even a canteen at the time, to do my little bit, and someone stuck a nomination form under my nose and said, it's all filled out, all you've got to do is sign it. So I thought, well, why not? Give it a shot.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because we have about 9,000 directors across New South Wales clubs, and one of the big challenges is trying to find people to replace directors when it's time for them to retire. But yet you made that decision yourself. What would you say to someone out there who might be listening now who's considered running for a spot on their club board but thought, I won't upset the apple cart, or, I probably don't have as much to offer as other people? What's your advice to them?
So for me, club boards are a reflection of the community, and I would encourage everybody, regardless of what you think your value is, to have a go, because it's ideas and new thoughts and new ways of thinking that bring all of the value to the club industry. We have a unique model, there's no denying that, and sometimes you think there's no one out there that will replace you, but there are, and we should be encouraging everyone to have a go. You're
also on the board of a state sporting organisation in Netball New South Wales. So in what way does that role help you in your role with Clubs New South Wales and vice versa?
I mean, Netball New South Wales is a member organisation as well, not dissimilar to Clubs New South Wales. It does have similarities, it does have things that are completely different, of course, but it is really all about community. Whatever it is that your values are, whatever it is that your objectives are designed to achieve, it's about taking people on a journey. So I think, for me, they sit nicely together in the sense that it's all about what you bring and how you can achieve into the future.
There are some difficult economic times at the moment with cost of living pressures affecting all businesses, not just clubs, but obviously clearly all hospitality venues struggling with cost of living pressures. What do you see as the main areas of focus for the industry in order for our clubs to remain viable and continue serving their communities in the way that they do?
No denying it's a challenging time, and frankly we can't see the end of that at this point. I think it's really important that as club governance boards we are completely open and transparent in what we're looking to achieve. I think we need to really understand that there may be opportunities for amalgamations, for example, and we shouldn't take anything off the table in terms of being able to make sure that our clubs are sustainable and that they're there for the future. I mean, there is no denying that there will be a reduction of clubs across the coming years, but we also know how important they are to our communities, not just regionally, but metro, suburban, etc. So important for our club industry to continue providing places for our members to belong, to be safe and to be welcomed. So for me, it comes down to being transparent as a board around your thinking to what is a sustainable future and how do I get there.
You can speak with some authority on the benefits of amalgamation. Your club, Ramsgate RSL, has amalgamated with 3 clubs, one up in the sort of Nelson Bay or Fingal Bay area, and 2 locally in the Shire. Tell us a little bit about that experience, and what do you honestly think would have happened to those 3 clubs if it wasn't for the benefit of an amalgamation?
With the benefit of hindsight, Fingal Bay Sports Club, a fantastic area up in Port Stephens. It really is a beautiful place. The difficulties come when you can't resource the staying relevant and being able to refurb. So, we've spent a significant amount of money up there on our membership, on the building, the infrastructure, and we've done that because we want that community to belong to Fingal Bay Sports Club. So far, so good, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done in amalgamations. We've done the 2 amalgamations close to home, and one has been a strategic amalgamation which is going to bring our club's sustainability going forward, and the other has been, again, a significant refurb. And it really is about making sure that our members, our community, have a place to belong.
You've had quite a few experiences within the club industry over the past 12, 13 years. you've interacted with a lot of very experienced club personalities in that time. Can you single out one individual who left a mark on you unlike any other in that period?
Yeah, I have a place in my heart for the late Peter Newell. Peter showed me how important it is to engage with community and to really understand what our members are looking for. I sat down with him at Ramsgate when I said to him, I would love to be able to join the board and to really have some input into the future. And, he was always someone that would share a good story that really inspired, everyone, but in particular me. So for me, Peter was a terrific mentor in that regard.
And a wonderful communicator and a great performer at regional meetings, whether it was behind the microphone or chatting to everyone in the room. Lots of fond memories there with Peter Newell. You've also worked more recently with Rebecca Riont, the CEO of Clubs New South Wales, since I think July or August of last year. It's gone quickly. What's that experience been like, and how impressed have you been with how easily Rebecca has transitioned? And I say that with respect because she's made it look easy. I'm sure it wasn't, but with how she's made her mark on the industry in her first 12 months in the job.
Yeah, look, I'm really proud of the work that Rebecca's brought to our industry. She most definitely had a brief, I guess, and she's delivered on that brief, not just once, but ongoing. I'm very impressed with the way she gets about and understands, has brought herself to understand our industry and being able to communicate right across New South Wales. I'm also really, really impressed with the way that she is able to communicate with other stakeholders and to be able to represent our industry right at the coalface, I guess. As a part of that independent panel, it's critical that our club industry in New South Wales is represented there and represented well, and she's achieved that.
It is noteworthy that the CEO and chair are both females and the first females in their role in the history of the organisation, but it's not necessarily something that you or Rebecca focus on all that often, is it?
No, it's not. I have said more than once that I never walk into a boardroom and say, here I am as a woman, I'm sitting down. I'm very proud of the fact that, as a female, I'm able to demonstrate to others that there's opportunity there, but certainly just get on with the job and do the very best that we can.
I should ask you about Dr. George Paponis as well, of course, who you've served under as chair until his recent decision to step down from that role. What was it like working with George over the past, what would it be, 6 years? And what can you tell us about George's style in the boardroom?
Yeah, no, George is a wonderful leader of people and makes it very easy to be able to keep on, the strategic view of our industry, and has been a terrific mentor also to me in regard to being able to walk us through where we needed to go, not forgetting at all that George was at the helm when we went through COVID, a particularly challenging time for our industry, and we're very proud of the fact that he led us through and we were able to have those conversations around reopening. That was incredibly, insecure and unstable time for our industry, as I know you all know, but George was, able to lead us through that, and I'm really grateful for that.
Okay, a big conference coming up in the not too distant future, from the 9th to the 11th of October. What are you most looking forward to?
Look, I just love seeing everybody. We travel, obviously, in these roles as a director, we travel out to regional New South Wales and we see them where they're at. It's great to be able to see them when we're all together, and the welcoming parties right through all of the sessions, to be able to hear directors and, the club staff, CEOs, to be able to add value to all of the conversations that we'll be having. I'm really looking forward to the keynote speakers in Dylan Alcott. I can't wait to see what he brings us to the table. They're fantastic opportunities to take away gems that, you do think back in a couple of years and you go, I remember he said that, and that resonates. So I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone.
Wonderful. In closing, if you had a magic wand, and we're going to again ask this of our guests on the podcast, what's the one single thing that you do to help the industry moving forward?
I mean, it might sound really simplistic and it's sort of rose-coloured glasses, but the one thing that I would do is I would embed the knowledge of what our industry does at community level into every single person in New South Wales, so that they can understand how important we are to community and how important we are that we are here for the long run and that we are sustainable and, providing those places to belong. Mental health is such a challenge, like the whole of New South Wales, all of those people. So if they actually understand what we do in that area, then I think that would be it for me.
Well, Sallianne, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Club Life podcast, our very first guest. So a bit of history there. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks very much, Darren. Thanks for having me.
Sallianne Faulkner there, the chair of Clubs New South Wales. And that's all we have time for on this very first edition of the Club Life podcast. Thanks for your company. Don't forget you can find new episodes on clublife.com.au, on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. If you have a suggestion on who might make a really great guest for a future episode of the podcast, get in touch with the team by emailing clublife@clubsnsw.com.au. Thanks for listening, and until next time, goodbye.